everyone, welcome to the third episode of the Hawkins Do Copy podcast. My name is Lauren.
And my name is Emily, and in this podcast we talk about all things Stranger Things. So today we are talking about quite a big topic, I would say. You could say
the biggest. Yeah.
Probably the biggest, or at least one of them, yeah. So we're going to talk today about the girl herself, 11.
Who is arguably one of the characters that we know nothing about. We know a lot, but not a lot.
Yeah, it's we kind of know everything, and yet we know absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird scenarios.
Yeah.
I
think she's going to play a bigger part in the future. I think they've not even scratched the surface of Elle as a character.
No, definitely not. So, what do we know about Elle?
We do have some of Elle's backstory, so not even necessarily her being in the lab and starting from season 1. We do know a little bit about her before that. Obviously, she was born in around 1971. I was just like, that's completely wrong. No, she was born around 1971. That could be a little bit out. We're not 100% sure of that. There is some debate on that and a couple of different
I think it's kind of like a year or so.
But we're going to go with that early 1970s anyway. And we've obviously met her mum, Terry Ives, in the show a couple of times now, and Terry was involved with the lab, but in the book Suspicious Minds, that has been confirmed as canon content. We're going with Suspicious Minds as being actual canon content.
Yeah, I think there's been a few articles basically saying it is canon. I think, is it Gwenda Bond?
Yeah,
Gwenda Bond. I've got the book up there, that's what she looked. Gwenda Bond, I think she said she worked with one of the writers, at least for season 1. I think that's when it would have been written.
Okay. Yeah. So we're going to go with Suspicious Minds being something which has correct information, but don't quote us on that, because that information could have changed as the seasons went on. Obviously, they didn't necessarily know if there was going to be a season 2, so some of the information could have changed. But from Suspicious Minds, Elle's dad was someone called Andrew Rich, which I was shook because I was so convinced that Brenna was going to turn out to be her actual dad. For the longest time, I was so sure on that as a theory and was just convinced that it was going to turn out that he was her actual dad. But no, it's a dude called Andrew Rich, and Terry was obviously involved with the experiments in the lab. She was at college when they first started, and it was sort of a little way to get some extra money and some extra things. And obviously, it became pretty obvious pretty quickly that it was not what
it
seemed. And Andrew was actually suspicious of this and was not particularly happy with everything that was going on. And Brenna was the cause of Andrew's disappearance / death. And he was pretty brutal in sort of trying to remove Elle's parents from her life because he was so determined to have her and the potential that she had. So even from the beginning, Brenna knew that the potential that this child held was more so than any other test subjects that he had.
Yeah, not kind of related, but also not quite related. But what I found was quite interesting in the book when I read, and I think you've said the same thing, that Terry and Andrew are very Mike and Elle. And I don't know if that was just kind of the way that Gwenda, like we're friends, the way that Gwenda wrote it, and she just thought, okay, let's bring that kind of characterization in. It was very interesting to kind of see.
Yeah, I did find that.
In that sense.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I really liked seeing their dynamic, actually. We are going to do a whole month of podcasts in which we talk about the books and the bonus content, so we will go more into that when we touch upon that. But it is a really interesting book, actually. It was the first one.
It was
a lot of additional content, so it was quite interesting. Terry obviously we know was someone that was directly involved with what was going on. And for a lot of the times when she was taking part in these tests and having these tests done, she didn't know that she was pregnant, but she was. And that is what we assume is what has caused Elle to have the abilities that she has. And obviously Brenna wanted to make Terry seem as unstable as possible, and framed her for lots of things and made her seem like what she was saying was completely untrue, because he was so desperate to have Elle. And that's what's really interesting, is that wasn't the case for any other subject that was in the lab.
I reread I think it's the epilogue, or at the end, like the last chapter into the epilogue, last night, just to refresh it. And the way that Brenna actually talks about Elle and talks about her to Callie, so number 8, is quite interesting actually, that he's so possessive right in that moment, and it's very clear, like, this is my child. And even though
no one else calls him Papa.
No, it's made so clear that that's hers. I think even, I don't know if Callie even calls him that. I think
not that I remember.
No, I think she was at that age though, didn't she? Was she aware of her parents?
I think so. I think Callie remembers. There's a group of them, without going too much into the all of them. There is a group of them that remembers a life before the lab, which is very interesting. But it goes into what we were saying last week about Montauk, that they took children that, or they took people that wouldn't necessarily be missed. So. Or made it seem like, like, so if there was people that were homeless, or children that were like foster children, and then also,
or a pregnant mother who was involved in MK Ultra.
Like, they had a really easy way of making it seem like that, like the Elle could have died when she was born. They were really easy targets, and that's what the whole basis of the people that they did do these experiments on, and the alleged experiments in Montauk, that was their whole basis, is that it was people that wouldn't necessarily be suspicious if they were gone.
No.
And that makes me think that Sarah is a little bit more involved, because she was ill anyway, but we won't get into that right now. But it wouldn't surprise me. But Elle's very, very important. She obviously was clearly important from the get-go. Brenna knew what he could do with the potential, with what Terry could do, and how that potential could manifest in Elle. So, and then obviously we know that she has lots of powers that I don't think we don't even know the basis, like the surface of what she can do, and I don't think she knows either.
No, so there is, I suppose you could say, a bit of conflicting ideas of what her powers actually are, because I think in the companion guide, so the world turns upside down, it links a few more, and on the very reliable Strange Things wiki, it lists a few more as well. Obviously we know she can go into the void, and we could see that Terry could do that as well, but I mean, obviously she was being put under drugs and had all of that kind of stuff going on. So.
But if she was pregnant at the time, those drugs would have had a direct.
Yeah.
If they're literally, when we look at what they used to do as part of the MK Ultra subjects, they literally were putting amphetamine into people's blood system. So if there is a child in you, and amphetamine is being fed into your blood system,
probably getting to the child in some way.
A little bit, yeah.
So we know she can go into the void. We know that she can move things with her mind. But then I think in the book it also suggests that she's kind of got mind reading and that kind of stuff going on as well, which we've kind of seen in season 3, I guess, when she kind of did a deep delve into Billy's subconscious. But that is also something new, actually, that she picked up that she could do, that was brought up. Obviously, we saw it in season 2, where she said she did it with her mum. And then it was brought up something that she realised that she'd carry on. So I think the point about her not really realising what exactly she can do in her full potential is definitely something that...
I think it's really interesting that she realises that she can do something else and then she figures out how to strengthen it. So everything she had to do with Terry in season 2, she had to have the TV on with the static, she had to have sensory deprivation, and then even back to season 1, she has to have the whole pool, she has to have the whole swimming pool, whereas then it gets to season 3 and all she really needs is the blindfold.
Blindfold, I think a little bit of radio on, but that's
not
it.
as much as it used to be.
And she can pick and choose as well, very much, that she can just go, let's literally spin a bottle and who it lands on we'll spy on. So
and it becomes more of a she can sort of manipulate her powers a little bit more, but we see that in season 2 as well with the telekinesis, and Callie helps her be able to literally move an entire truck, which she wouldn't have thought she could do, and that's why she then realizes that she can close the gate, because she becomes more aware of what she can do.
What's interesting as well, though, that Callie suggests to her that it's anger that she should use to do it, but then we see at the end of that actually it's more, I guess you could argue it's anger, but it's more anger for her friends, and she's doing this for them rather than I'm annoyed at the world, which we kind of saw when she pushed the massive truck.
I think their entire dynamic is completely different. Like Callie is she's in an entirely different situation, and I think she obviously would have used her powers in the lab, but from what we know, she's not being looked for.
No,
she's out of the lab and not being like desperately looked for the way that Elle is.
I think she's very aware that people could come for her.
But
I don't think, but it seems to be more they're running from the police. And
I don't think she's as concerned about it.
No.
Which is really interesting. When Elle opens the gate in season 1, a lot of according to the comics, a lot of the test subjects, that's when they leave. They get out during that sort of situation, and then no, not then. When Terry comes in, that whole chaos is when a lot of test subjects escape. So the fact that they let loads of people escape but wanted to keep Elle shows then that even her being, because she was probably about 5 at that time.
I think we can presume she was kind of 4, 5-ish, around that age.
The fact that loads of adult test subjects that could go and leave and could report what was going on, that happened, so that they could keep a 5-year-old, says a lot about Al's powers.